DocX, you're still using Word? I mean,
Yes.
Microsoft Word?
No, I'm using
Google?
the Google Docs.
Oh, okay, good. I guess it's the same file suffix as Word uses.
Yeah, because I don't think I had your Google thing, so I think it sent it just as a file.
Ah, okay. Yeah, it sends it as a Word doc. That's weird.
Yeah, funny.
Yeah. Okay, let's
Hello,
see.
everyone in the chat room.
Oh, we're on live?
Yeah, I just started.
Hello, everyone in the chat room. Let's see. I need to figure out what the link is for the YouTube watch page. Is there any way for me to figure that out?
Yeah, let me send it to you.
Okay. So I've never been on this end of the...
I know you haven't. This is different for you.
Yeah, it's weird.
No, that was the. Is that the Hangouts
That's
thing?
the sign into the...
Oh, let me get you. I got it over here.
Or I could just go on YouTube and find it myself, right?
That one is in. Or I tagged you in a tweet.
Flying in Life. It says it's live. Hang on. You're probably going to get some feedback. Yep. And I'll pop out the chat. Pop out the chat. Pop out the chat. Hello, Jen, Nigeria.
I missed the story behind that one.
How did that? I'm trying to remember exactly how that worked. I think it was like I was texting something and it did autocorrect. So when I put in Niffer, it thought, well, certainly you don't mean Niffer, you mean Nigeria.
You mean Nigeria?
Okay. No, I did not mean Nigeria, but I like that. Jen, Nigeria. It has an exotic sound to it.
Alrighty.
Hello, Evan Shu.
Hey, Evan.
Hello, Liz Piper. Hello, James. Hello, Fabian.
All these people.
I know. Wow.
What happens when you have a celebrity on your show?
You're the celebrity, dude. I'm just some old guy.
Alrighty. Let's get this show on the road. Let me make sure I hit the record button. I have not. Flying Life Podcast, episode 37, recorded June 21st, 2018. I double tapped.
Double tap.
Welcome to the Flying Life Podcast, a podcast just about that, flying, aviation, and my life. I'm Dispatcher Mike, a dispatcher for a major airline based here in the United States. Joining me today is not Dispatcher Greg, but is Captain Jeff of the Airline Pilot Guys Show. Jeff, welcome to your first appearance on the Flying Life Podcast.
Hello, and I know nothing about dispatching.
Except you use it. You only just use the dispatch release that everyone gives you.
I don't want to say I use the dispatcher, but I use the wonderful resources that having a dispatcher gives me.
Yeah, the 20 feet of paperwork that we give you, that you use a small piece of, and the rest we just legally have to give you.
I know. When are we, well, never mind. I don't want to skip ahead, but when are we going to go to paperless? Ever?
No.
Okay.
I doubt it. Maybe sometime in my career. Yours, not so much.
Yeah, because I can pick up the flight plan and all the stuff that's printed on the paper on my EFB. I don't
Yes.
need the paper, but I guess the FAA still requires it.
Yes. Maybe there'll be a point in time where it will happen, but I'm not seeing it anytime soon. Anyway, so in this episode, I have you on here because we're going to talk about the Innovations in Flight Family Day weekend that we both shared together, how we got there, how we came, how we got home, and pretty much the whole weekend there. So without further delay, let's go ahead and jump on in. So just to recap, I got invited. I applied to take the airplane up to the Smithsonian's Udvar-Hazy Center over in Chantilly, Virginia. I applied to take my 1963 Beach Musketeer up there. My whole thought was, well, if I don't go, or if I never apply, the answer will be no. So if I just apply, well, just maybe the Smithsonian will say yes, and I'll be able to take the airplane there. And thankfully, they did say yes. And I was able to take the airplane up there. And it was about a month before the event that happened. And I know, Jeff, you were talking about going to the event as well. And as soon as I found out the airplane was going to be there, I asked you if you wanted to join me in the airplane and join me on the journey in the Musketeer up to Dulles. And thankfully, you said yes.
Yeah. I said I'll bid around. I normally bid the weekends off anyway. And I thought, oh, that would be a lot of fun. I went up to the Innovations in Flight Family Day about 3 years ago and had a good time. And I thought it'd be fun to do that again. And yeah, I jumped at the chance to be your co-pilot in the Beechcraft Musketeer.
Yeah, and it was fun. And so I pretty much did all the flight planning and everything. And the way I flight plan, especially on long trips like that, the flight plan generally goes, and I usually do it 3 or 4 times, pick different routings, kind of chasing to see if we go a little bit further north, a little bit further south, gets us a different type of headwind. And it turned out on our day that just straight at it was the best, the best flight path. Shortest distance between 2 points this time was definitely a straight line. So, and yeah, I'm confused by your message.
I'm sorry. You're I think you're on your earbud mic.
You think so?
Yeah, because you yep. That's when I knew. When I heard the clicking sound, I went, oh.
Let me change this here.
Doesn't sound like you're on the ATR. I didn't want to interrupt the show, but I guess I did. Sorry.
I don't think I'm on the earbud mic. It's showing.
Yeah, you definitely yeah, tap the little microphone there. Yeah, it's that. I don't hear the. You may be monitoring your earbud. Check the Hangouts set gear settings thing. See if you have that selected.
The settings says for the Hangout says loopback audio virtual.
Okay, so loopback. Look in your loopback. What are you sending your mic to?
So loopback here is the loopback audio there. I'm sending that from audio hijack. Where is it? And they're like, oh, do you know what? I am. How's that?
Yes, much better.
See, when you have a podcast professional on the show that he catches, his ear is just.
I've been doing it longer. Not that I'm a professional, but I've just been doing it for a very long time. But Yeah, and in fact, at first I thought it doesn't sound like the full fidelity of that ATR, but then I think maybe it is. And then when you tapped your earbud mic, I went, nope, that's that's not where it's coming from.
Gotcha. Alrighty. So,
Sorry for the interruption.
no, that's fine. What were we talking about?
Planning
Oh, okay.
the trip in the straight line.
Yeah. So the straight line ended up being the shortest route. We didn't really have any headwind or tailwind or any benefit from that. It was pretty much a winds calm type of event, and so it pretty much straight at Martinsville and then straight to Dulles was our fastest route of flight. I chose stopping in Martinsville because it had a restaurant on the field and the fuel price was low, so it was like a double win. It was a win-win situation. So that's why we stopped there, and it was a good. It kind of was just over halfway. It was a 3.5 and a 2.5 hour flight, so we got most of the flight behind us when we went ahead and stopped. So you weren't really involved in any of that planning process. You were kind of just along for the ride, like you usually are
Yeah,
in your career.
exactly. Of course, in my real professional flying, I will look at what the dispatcher has planned for me and make sure that we're all on the same 20 pages. But yeah, and then if I see something that is of concern to me, for instance, maybe the fuel planning calculations, or usually it's not the fuel planning so much as the route. Sometimes I'll look at the route of flight and see some weather that I might be a little concerned about, and might have a discussion with the dispatcher regarding that. But yeah, so in this case, I was just along for the ride. You told me to show up at the Noonan Coweta County Airport at 7:15, and I said, yes, sir, we'll go.
Yeah, so I had you show up at 7:15, and then when I got up and I looked outside, and the weather was not what we thought it was forecast to be, and it clearly wasn't. The closest forecast to Noonan and the Coweta County Airport is Atlanta and the Atlanta Airport. So there was no, the Atlanta was VFR. The forecast was spot on, but down here at Noonan, we had a overcast at 203 quarters of a mile in fog, and we were kind of delayed when we on our departure by about 2 hours as we waited for that fog to lift and the broken overcast layer to scatter out. We knew it was going to happen. We just needed to get the sun to come out and raise the air temperature away from that temperature dew point spread that we had. So that took about 2 hours.
Yep.
Which was good for me because I was able to assist my wife in the things, and it was good for you because you were able to do some work editing your podcast, and that was pretty much all the work you were able to get done the whole weekend.
Yes, I made little attempts here and there to try to get some headway in the editing process, but that was pretty much a wash. And when I was up squirreled away at the McDonald's at the Udvar-Hazy Center, Smithsonian Air and Space Museum, I kept thinking to myself as I was trying to get some work done on the editing that I'm missing out because there are a lot of people out there that are people I want to talk to and meet up with. And I thought, what am I doing in a McDonald's? So I just packed everything up and said, forget it. I'll just do it when I get back home.
Yeah, which is a good thing. I think it was more enjoyable for you to go through and do the editing and at home and be out there and meeting the people and taking in the whole atmosphere of the event.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe I could do some editing in the airplane because we were going to be in the airplane for so long. But turns out that you forced me to fly the airplane, and I couldn't edit audio and fly the airplane at the same time. So
Yes, I forced you.
yes, no, he allowed me.
Yes, absolutely. Jeff and his past podcast, ever since we went flying in Tacoma, has kind of hinted at that I never let him take the controls on the really gusty, windy, turbulent day. And so, and honestly, I think it worked out really well the way we did it, that we switched out every hour to 90 minutes who was flying, which when you're flying and hand flying for that great distance, it help reduces the workload. It gives your brain a little bit time to relax, in opposed to just having one person doing it for 5.5 hours.
Yeah.
So our first leg was Noonan up to Blue Ridge Airport in Martinsville, Virginia, and we started out having to do something you're not used to having to do, and that's avoid the Atlanta airspace. So we kind of tunneled underneath the Class Bravo airspace, and then once we got clear of the airspace, we climbed up to our cruising altitude of a whopping 5,500 feet MSL, which is significantly lower than what your MD-88 cruises at. So what was it like for you being, well, low and slow?
Well, I flew with you once before. We did the Toccoa meetup last year or so, and it was the first part of the flight up to Martinsville. That first leg was pretty much just like flying up to Toccoa, only longer. Flying underneath the, let's see, Atlanta was landing and taking off to the west, and they were again on the trip that we undertook on Friday. And so it was kind of a deja vu. It was like, oh, yeah, I remember this. And as we were going underneath the arrival corridor for Atlanta International, I kept looking out the window, hoping that nobody would hit us, because I know that we, don't normally search for low and slow traffic below us as we were coming in for our approach into Atlanta. But I loved it.
And that's what kind of the design of the airspace is for. The design of the airspace is to separate the traffic using the primary use airport, in this case, Atlanta, Hartsfield, Jackson, and the general aviation traffic. Air traffic control don't want those two sets of traffic mixing, especially when you are at the world's busiest airport is around you. So that was that. Now, on the way up there, we found some mystical airspace called Triad, and we actually found the Triad approach. And I had talked to our friends at opposing bases and asking them if any of them were going to be on duty, and AG was going to be on duty for the event, or for our time up there. And listening to their last podcast, he actually came back from break a little bit early and then requested to work a certain sector, and the supervisor thought he was nuts. Their podcast and said, okay, sure. So I don't have the whole recording because my mother-in-law, thankfully, because we were late, decided to go, agreed to go out and do the shopping for us, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And she had a question about potato chips. And when she called and that hit my iPad, that actually stopped the recording. So we never got, I don't have on when we checked on with the Triad approach, but I have pretty much everything else. So let's go ahead and take a listen to that.
And Triad approach, Musketeer 24 Lima's got the weather at Martinsville.
November 24 Lima, thank you. Descent to Martinsville, your discretion. There is traffic, 12 o'clock, 15 miles, opposite direction, currently indicating 4,300.
All right, 24 Lima's got him on the ADSB. We'll be searching.
November 24 Lima, they've held steady there at 4,700.
Copy for 24 Lima. Still got him on the ADSB, not in sight yet. And Triad approach. 24 Lima, what are you showing for an altitude for us?
November 24 Lima, your altitude indicates 5,600.
All right, copy that for 24 Lima. We are out of 5,500 now, starting to descend towards Martinsville.
24 Lima, right. November 24 Lima, additional traffic, 12 o'clock, 12 miles, opposite direction, 3,300 indicated, slowly climbing.
All right, 24 Lima also has them on the ADSB. We'll be searching.
Roger. 24 Lima is also Skyline inbound from the northwest. They're about 10 miles out on the RNAV, so 1-2.
Copy that, 24 Lima. That's 2-6 Foxtrot, correct?
Affirmative.
Copy, we see them as well.
Like 24 Lima. I'm not here when you guys take off. Have a good flight up to the northeast. And it's a pleasure talking to you. Change to advisory for.
All right, 24 Lima, we're going to advisory frequency. We should be on the ground for about 45 minutes. Is this a good frequency for flight following on the way back? We're going northbound?
You can get the call on this on the way out.
All right, 24 Lima, we'll talk to you in a few, hopefully.
All right. Catch you on the flip-flop. See ya.
So that was our recording through the Great Triad Airspace, and that was set up for our first stop. And it was kind of good to be controlled by a controller that you know, a controller that you listen to, and you kind of learn things. I learned a lot of things listening to the Opposing Bases podcast, so it was kind of great that I was able to use their services and all of that. So I'm looking forward to hopefully maybe sometime this fall setting up a fly-in meetup into the Triad airspace so we can all meet up with them as well. I think that'd be a good place to do it too.
Yeah, it would.
So then we get into Martinsville, and we're following that sky lane on arrival. When we had to fly over the field, and we entered a left downwind to runway 12, and this is what it sounded like. This is great.
You been here before?
Yep. 126 o'clock, near the active at Martinsville.
Where the active? Martinsville, Blue Ridge, traffic, Musketeer 2324 Lima's left base, 12, Martinsville. 500. Thank you.
What year is your Musketeer?
It's 1963.
Wow, so you got what engines on it?
I think it's an IO 120. It's 120 horsepower.
You better have more than that.
I'd have to look up in the book again real quick. I don't know off the top of my head.
Musketeers don't like anything less than about 160 horse.
Yeah, I think it's an IO 120 that's 160 horsepower.
The 320 probably. Lycoming engine.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my brother-in-law had a Super Rat, had the 200 horse, which was an 0360.
I love that.
2 doors on it. Does yours have 2 doors?
No, we're a single door only.
Trying to think of what year that was, but it had 2 doors.
Dana's in the flight deck with us.
Woo!
I'm going around.
You can always go around.
And Martinsville traffic, Musketeer 24 Lima is going around 12.
Because some idiot keeps talking to me
on the radio.
Now, when you're hitting your mic button and I'm talking, my conversation's not going out, is it?
I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. Then just to be safe, I will not say anything.
That was absolutely great. And as Fabian says in the chat room, so here's the situation for me. I jump seated with Jeff, the backup to Columbus about a month ago. It was his last trip with Dana, and Jeff's landing was a little firm, and I've been kind of giving Jeff a little bit of a hard time since then.
A little bit?
Okay, but it's friendly.
Actually, Dana's been giving me a hard. Hello?
Dana's been giving you more of a hard time?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm trying to make this first one smooth. I went out even flying on Thursday to go through, and I did about 12 takeoff and landings just to make sure I was going to get some good landings out of it. And I fell into the trap. I should have just ignored this guy and said, hey, we'll talk to you about the airplane on the ground. And just landed the airplane. But I fell into the trap, and then I'm trying to hold it off, and then I ballooned a little, and then we were halfway down the runway, and I said, nope, going around. We'll try it again. And which was the absolutely right decision. but I definitely fell into his trap of talking about the airplane. Oh,
what kind of engine you got on that?
what one that's running? I don't know.
the kind that's in the front.
I'm trying to figure out how to land the airplane right now. That's what and it's hot. I really don't want to be in here anymore. We've been sitting for 3.5 hours. We need to pee and we're hungry. And thank you for allowing me to take another lap around the traffic pattern.
Yeah. You absolutely made the right decision there. You were not happy with, the fact that we didn't touch down, right away in the touchdown zone. And you said, you know what, screw it. I'm going to go around because this guy distracted me. And he was a distraction for sure.
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised he kept yakking. In fact,
I was kind of surprised too, but hey, so that was Martinsville.
Remember, we were on the ground when we got in. They were in front of the self-service refueling area, and I guess the guy that was flying with that guy that was on the radio said, "Hey, it was this guy over here that was yakking the whole time, wouldn't shut up."
This is the guy that was talking to you on final. If you want to yell at him, I'm like, no, it's all good.
It's okay.
I think he learned. Yeah, so we needed to do a quick turn in Martinsville because we needed to hit specific arrival windows that the Dulles Air Traffic Center sent out to the general aviation aircraft flying in, and they wanted to hit these specific windows because that is when there was the lull in the United Bank, and their traffic was historically at a low point for those for that time. So they could handle small general aviation slow movers at that time. So we went through there. You quick turn. I filled up with gas. You went to go get food. What'd you get to eat, Jeff?
Well, I got a barbecue sandwich, and I was thinking, I was telling Steph this on our last show that has not been published yet, that I'm thinking, well, North Carolina barbecue, it's usually just the meat, maybe a little bit of vinegar or a very light vinegar sauce on it. And I'm thinking that shouldn't be too messy. We weren't in North Carolina, though. We were in Virginia, and apparently in Virginia, they like to really slap on that dark red barbecue sauce, and it was messy. So I tried to eat it as quickly as I could before we took off. While Mike was doing all the work, I was just scarfing down my very, very messy pulled pork barbecue sandwich, which was delicious, by the way.
Yeah, I needed to hurry up and file a flight plan into the SFRA, which we'll talk about in a second. But since we were flying into the DC area, I had to file a very specific flight plan. And so I got a ham and turkey bacon club sandwich. And I'm like, oh, that should be easy to eat. Nice sandwich, a bag of chips, no big deal. So I take off. Jeff finishes his food. I open up. I pick up the box from the back seat, and this thing feels like it's about 5 pounds. And I'm like, what is this? And I open it up, and I'm not joking. There had to have been about a good 3 inches of thick meat thrown on there. So it was a big, thick. I think once half of the sandwich had to weigh maybe 12 pounds, but
12 pounds,
pound. I mean, it was a beefy sandwich, and I was only able to eat half of it, and I was pretty hungry. So on the way up to Dulles, pretty eventful flight. We tried to hook back up with the Triad for departure. Tried a couple of times, unable to get through, but I knew I was flying out of their airspace, and we picked up our flight following with Roanoke up the rest of the way, and it was pretty decent the rest of the flight up. And I'm going to play a recording of all of our arrival into Dulles from pretty much when we picked up from Dulles, Potomac, the Dulles initial controller, all the way to when we turn off. And so this is about 35 minutes of audio that is compressed and cut down to about 9 minutes. But we'll go through and we'll talk about how it is when we're all done with it. There's a couple of fun things that we have in there that we'll talk about and highlight. So here, let's listen to this.
24 Lima traffic alert, 2 o'clock and 2 miles. Westbound altitude indicates 5,300.
All right, 24 Lima's got him on the ADSB. We're looking.
What are their altitude?
Go up.
Number 24 Lima, suggest you descend and maintain 4,500.
You got it.
All right, 24 Lima's expediting down to 4,500.
And 24 Lima, that traffic's indicating 5,400, should be passing behind you.
Yep, 24 Lima's got it.
Inside.
24 Lima, roger. 24 Lima, you can just maintain 4,500.
All right, 24 Lima will maintain 4,500. That's where the big sky theory would not have worked.
Nope.
6324 at Cavalier.
Would have passed behind us, but still.
Descend and maintain.
Too close for comfort. Lots more pieces of metal flying around up here.
Yes. It is insane. You could hear the beeping in the background with the traffic alert. That's never a good sign when they're talking about you.
Nope.
November 2324 Lima, turn right turn, heading of 130. That'll be vectors for sequence. I got to get faster traffic in before you, sir.
All right, 24 Lima, 130 vectors for traffic from us here, 24 Lima.
For 2324 Lima, descend and maintain VFR at 3,500.
All right, 24 Lima, leaving 45 for 35 for 24 Lima. And Potomac, 24 Lima, are the demo MOAs cold or hot?
For Lima, the demo modes there are cold.
Copy, 24 Lima.
6017, contact Potomac approach, 34.2.
34.2, today.
Number 24 Lima, turn left turn, heading of 010.
010 for 24 Lima. Basically,
24 Lima, just verify you're on a 010 heading.
Yeah, 24 Lima, 010 heading.
Higher. No, sir, he wasn't. He lies.
I am now.
His lips were moving. Tom, we have the river in sight. We'll go ahead and proceed for the Mount Vernon visual runway 1.
Oh, man. That's in the FRZ. Caution, TFR ahead. And Potomac, 24 Lima, we cleared into the class Bravo.
November 24 Lima, affirmative, clear the Washington Dulles class Bravo airspace on your present heading. Maintain 3,500 VFR.
All right, 3,500, 010, cleared in the class Bravo. Thanks, 24 Lima. His voice changed.
Yes. I think he was doing helium. He had a helium balloon. That would be fun. Carry a little helium balloons. All right. November 2324 Lima.
You know, it's like one of those things, like, I wasn't told I can go into their airspace. I'm not an IFR flight plan. That's a cover my...
Yep.
It's covering both of our tails.
Right.
But like I told you, that was going to happen because they're not used to working traffic into there that is not on an IFR flight plan.
November 24 Lima, descend and maintain at 2,500 VFR present heading.
On 24 Lima down to 2,500.
November 24 Lima, are you able to navigate direct to Morse to join the 1 left localizer?
24 Lima, yeah, we can go direct more.
November 24 Lima, roger, proceed direct to Morse, then intercept the runway 1 left localizer, maintain VFR 2,500.
All right, down to 2,500, intercept the 1 left localizer from Musketeer 24 Lima. All right, you want to grab the airplane while I set up this?
Yep. Out here.
November 24
right,
Lima, contact Potomac final 134.2.
134.2 for 24 Lima. Thanks for dealing with us slow guys this weekend.
A pleasure. Have a good one.
Potomac, Musketeer 24 Lima, checking in level 2,500, direct Morse.
2324 Lima, Potomac, fall from Dulles, altimeter 29er,
9er.
Third visual 1 center.
Sounds like they're putting everybody else on one center and one
Lima,
right.
Somebody hasn't told you yet. You are clear to the Bravo airspace direct Morse at or below 2,500 feet.
All right, 24 Lima cleared into the class Bravo, 2,500 feet. 24 Lima.
Traffic 9 to 10 o'clock, about a mile or two, descending to 4,000, the regional jet. They're going to land 1 center.
All right, 2-4 Lima's got the RJ in sight.
2-4 Lima, just maintain visual separation from the regional jet. Thank you.
All right, 2-4 Lima, no problem.
Wisconsin 3772, descend and maintain 3,000, field to 9 to 10 o'clock, and 14 miles.
3,000, field to center, got 3772.
Air Wisconsin 3772, turn left heading 040 and cleared visual approach runway 1 center. There is traffic just behind is a C-23 has in sight visual separation. He's VFR.
Roger, Wisconsin 3772, clear for visual.
So that's what we are, a B-23?
Yep. A BE-23.
And or 24 Lima from Morse, you can make straight in for runway 1 left. Just let me know when you have it in sight, please.
Airport's in sight for 2-4 Lima.
And or 24 Lima, roger that. And you can go ahead and contact the tower 134.42. Again, just use caution. Traffic's going to be landing for 1 center and runway 1 right.
Copy 2-4 Lima. We'll contact the tower. Thanks for working us slow guys in.
No worries at all, sir. Anytime.
Dulles Tower, Musketeer 2-4 Lima with you, 1 left.
Number 2324 Lima, Dulles Tower, runway 1 left, clear to land 1320 at 12.
Clear to land 1 left, Musketeer 2324 Lima.
320 at 12.
Windy, got it. Good news is I have
just 12 knots.
Behind you, left turn to the block back to ground.
Oh, that's true.
The block,
No gusts.
Area 195 ground point.
At least that's, he didn't say anything to that, I guess. Doesn't necessarily mean there are no gusts.
Lots of runway to put it down.
Oh, yeah.
Then take off again and then put it back down.
250 ground point 2.
Wonder how many.
13 without delay. Fly runway heading, runway 30, clear for takeoff. Traffic 4 mile final to the left.
Runway heading, clear for takeoff. Flight shift 413.
United 542 Dulles Tower, runway 30, line up weight.
Runway 30, line up weight, United 542.
Those pilots are going to be so. They're going to say something to themselves in that cockpit when they see what they're holding short for.
Well, they're actually still holding for this RJ that's coming up on 1 center.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. He's coming up on our right wing.
Oh, okay.
So he's waiting for both of us.
At 542, be just the minute or so longer. I got 1 land on the left in the center.
At 542.
Make them wait.
It's United. No problem.
Yeah. I feel like I'm crawling, but I'm still fast.
Yeah. Okay, our RJ is coming up on our wing, right wing.
Yeah, let's see. 500. In sight.
Clear to land. Runway's clear.
And 542, wind 320 at 12.
Yeah, that's it. There's no fighters.
Turn left heading 270. Runway 30, clear for takeoff.
Runway 30, clear for takeoff, at 542, heading 270. All right, clear of that runway. We're out of his way. He's used to a
3864,
little different pace.
1.62.
Yeah, he is. That's why it's funny.
Very nice.
Finally, I got a good one.
Lima to right next, reverse high speed there. That's uniform 4. Join Whiskey 2, hold short 1 center, remain this frequency.
All right, uniform 4, Whiskey 2, remain with you for Musketeer 24 Lima.
24 Lima, hold short 1 center.
And we will hold short of 1 center.
Scrambling. I muted myself.
It's like, okay. Any more?
So that was fun.
Yeah.
I really wanted so I recorded all the audio that you just heard on my iPad through my headset. So anything my headset recorded, the Lightspeed Zulu has a app where you can just record everything for. So that's where all of this conversation came from, which I'm glad it did. It works out quite well. So some things in there I want to point out. First of all, the speed. We can only give him 100 knots. When he said turn 130, I was fully expecting some sort of speed, some heading, maybe even some holding going into Dulles, just because I'm mixing with the large jets and I don't go fast. So there's that. And then I asked about the demo MOAs because the military MOA is a military operating area, and the controller had us pointed right towards that airspace. And if the MOA was hot, it'd be legal for us to go in there, but I was always taught it's generally not smart to go into a military area that is hot. So I just wanted to make sure that we weren't going to be continuing in that direction there. The Jeff pointed out that I was not exactly on the 101 degree heading, and
That was close.
I was close. I think it was 030 ish.
Yeah, or something, you know, plus or minus 10, 20 degrees or whatever. It's pretty close.
Yeah, you know, we got it corrected pretty quickly.
But you did the right thing. You just you tell them what it was that they told us.
Yeah.
What heading? Were you flying 010? Yes, we're flying 010.
We will be now. So sorry. And we kind of explained it in the recording to you as we were talking about it, but we kind of set this up as we were talking there. I said to you, hey, make sure we hear that we're cleared into the Class Bravo airspace. And we weren't hearing that. And when I queried, we were pretty much about a mile or two from the Bravo airspace. So it was important because the Class B airspace, as a VFR pilot, you need guaranteed to hear cleared into the Class Bravo airspace. You can't, it's other airspace, it's two-way radio communication. Class B, you need a set clearance for. And then the final thing that I thought was funny, and you obviously heard it was funny because we were laughing, was I think that was the longest takeoff transmission a controller has ever given to a flight, to that United 542. It's like you can hear them tapping in the background, and here we are moving at 80 miles an hour, still on a mile final.
Yeah, that was funny. You could just tell he was waiting for the exact moment that he could give the takeoff clearance to that 737, and he had miscalculated the pacing, and he had already started his transmission, so he just stretched it out.
Yeah, that was funny. So you've departed Dulles before,
yeah,
and you've especially departed runway 30. What would what you know? I kind of made mention the pilots on the United flight are going to definitely say something about the little musketeer they're holding short for. Would you guys say something to each other, do you think, or would you kind of just be like, oh, okay?
You mean inside the cockpit?
Yeah, like say if you were the United crew and sitting there and you're waiting for this little musketeer to land.
Yeah, we'd probably be looking out the window and thinking to ourselves, oh, that's so cool. You know, wish I were there in that airplane. It's always, you know, the grass is always greener. You know, we were going, oh, we'd like to be in that 737 about to take off. But trust me, those pilots in the United flight probably were thinking, oh, that's so cool. You know, an airplane of that size and that speed, you know, landing at Dulles International. That's pretty cool. They're probably thinking, man, these guys must have a lot of money because it must be really expensive to pay the landing fees and such at IAD.
Thankfully, all of that was waived by the signature FBO for the Hazy show planes, which was very grateful. And it's the reason why we kind of went straight there on Friday, opposed to going to Manassas and then hopping it over Saturday morning. So that ended up our flight. I was pretty much done flying for the day. I hit my block maximum pretty much. And from there, we picked up our friends Hillel and his son Jacob from the other fixed-based officer. And yes, you're showing the signature water bottle there as a souvenir.
Yes, I don't normally drink much water. I know we're supposed to, especially flying airplanes all day, but I never feel like, and I always let my body tell me when it's time for me to drink water. But after, what did we decide? How much time were we in that airplane? 6.5 hours block?
Yes.
And it was, you know, it was warm, warmer on the first leg than the second. Started cooling down a bit the second leg, even at 5,500 feet, it was still kind of warm. And I couldn't drink enough water once we got on the ground. I kept drinking, you know, bottle after bottle of water because it was just that dehydrating, I guess.
Yeah, I always say when you're flying long general aviation flights, you need to find that perfect level of dehydration. You want to be hydrated enough where your body still functions and all that, but you don't want to be too hydrated that you have to find an empty bottle to use or to stop along the way to use the restroom. So after that, we, like I said, we picked up Halal and Jacob from, they were assigned the other FBO for parking. And then we went down to the Casa de Fernandez for dinner with a great set of content creators and other listeners that had said that they were going to be in the area. And so my in-laws were very great and allowed me to invite people over, and they always like to find a reason to party, and I think we might have given them another reason to do so. So we had them come over and cooked burgers, cooked hot dogs, grilled beans, chips. Thankfully, our main man Micah and First Officer Craig brought some local IPAs from their regions for us to partake in. And then from there, that evening was just really sitting down, talking, relaxing, just being aviation nerds and talking to each other in person opposed to online, which was great. What was the highlight of the evening for you, Jeffrey?
Well, meeting your father-in-law and your mother-in-law, I would say, would be the highlight, and just being in that really nice home. Is that your phone or my phone?
No, that's my phone.
Oh, okay. I think you have a phone just like ours that starts saying who the call's from. Do you need to get that?
No, it's what I have a wife and kids for.
Really? That's why you have them? Anyway, so yeah, the highlight for me was it being introduced to your family, your in-laws, and being in that beautiful home. And then, of course, the food was awesome. And then when everybody came over and we were out there eating and drinking and talking aviation, that was a lot of fun. You know, it's too many things to narrow it down to just one thing that was the best. But it was a very lovely home, and they gave me, I guess, the room that Mike must normally get, because he kind of I think it was his feathers were a bit ruffled when they told me that I was going to be staying downstairs in the basement room. Very nice.
That's the best bed.
Yeah, that's very nice.
It's a comfortable bed.
Yeah, nice bed down there, and a full bathroom, and it was a very, very nice place. So it was very comfortable. 5-star plus. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the highlight food-wise was definitely the flan.
Yes.
My
Your mother-in-law made an amazing, awesome flan.
She can cook very well. So that wrapped it up. We went to bed up early Saturday morning to head up to Signature, and again, just to taxi the airplane about almost 2 miles from Signature down to the Hazy museum ramp. No big deal there. Went through, set up the airplane as a static display, checked in and did all the required documents that we needed to sign, obviously, again. And so that was all of that. It was a good time. And then for me, I spent most of the day outside baking in the sun. Thankfully, I reapplied my sunscreen, but it got pretty warm in the afternoon, and the sole purpose of being there was to introduce people, and anyone that wanted to come over and see the airplane got to do it. And anywhere between just under 2 to some middle-aged people came over, wanted to look at the airplane, talk about the airplane, talk about everything, what a musketeer was, and all of that. And it was a great experience just doing that. And with the small general aviation airplane, you can you turn the yoke and you can actually see the ailerons move. And a lot of the times when I did that with people, and especially kids and the older kids, like the 8 through 12-year-old kid range, you can almost see a light bulb pop in on their face and pop in on their eyes. It's like, oh, I get it now. So this is how an airplane turns. And then I had them stick their head out the door to look back at the elevator and pull back and see the elevator move and all of that. And it was really a rewarding time. And I spent almost all but an hour out there. I went inside to eat, get some food. Got to do a quick interview with our friends over the Airplane Geeks while we were there, and then was back outside to watch, get people in, and then eventually we met up and we taxied the airplane back to Signature. So, Jeff, talk to me. We were kind of separated most of the day. What was the event in the day like for you?
I have to unmute as well. It was mostly spent hanging out in the back corner of McDonald's. No, I'm just kidding. That was just a little part of it. I kind of went back and forth between hanging out with you and other folks on the outdoor flight line that had flown in, and inside hanging around with the Airplane Geek hosts, and walking around with people like Rick Bell and Jen Niffer and stuff like that, looking at airplanes and just talking about stuff. And yeah, it was just very relaxing. I didn't feel like I had to be anywhere at any particular time, so it was actually kind of refreshing. I was just kind of relaxed and just taking it all in.
Did you go into any of the large airplanes outside, or did you just kind of walk around them?
Nope, I didn't even walk over that way. I just saw them from a distance.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I walked around some of the smaller, the general aviation airplanes, and then whatever that seaplane was. I think it was an Albatross, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was a Grumman Albatross.
I've always been fascinated with flying boats, so kind of hung around that one for a little bit.
I agree. I wish I could have gotten over there a little bit. And so the presence outside, so you had a bunch of general aviation airplane, you had a P-51 Mustang that was sitting outside, and then you had the larger metal. You had United brought over a 777. There was a KC-10. There was a C-17. The Navy brought a P-8 Poseidon, which is a brand new airplane to the Navy for the last couple of years. So there's a good presence of aviation, even as small as a flight of 3 gyrocopters were there at the event. So you had everything as small as a gyrocopter and as large as a 777. So it was very nice, and the line for the going into the 777 was long. It was a very long line to try to get up into the airplane, which for us airline people, we're like, okay, it's a 777. Let's go look at something else.
Yeah. Here's what airline seats look like. And this is an aisle over here and an aisle over there. I don't know. Maybe they got a chance to look at the cockpit. Not sure.
I'd hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, and what a good PR tool for United, because now you just got thousands of people to walk through your airplane and look at your product without having to buy a ticket. And maybe if they go long haul in their hope, I hope that was one of those newly configured 777s that they have with the Polaris business class. So I hope for them on the marketing tool it was something like that, because that would really make it well for them.
Yeah.
So after taxiing back to Signature, took a little bit longer than we thought.
Mainly because I think that the 777, the super tug that was supposed to come and take the airplane back, I don't know what the delay was, but the whole process was delayed, and I think that delayed everybody exiting the Udvar-Hazy Center, and that seemed to clash with the bank of flights that were leaving in the afternoon on Saturday.
Yeah, so at one point our our path was impeded, and we were nose to nose with a taxiway in between us, between a United 737-900, Lufthansa's 2747s were coming in and leaving at the same time, and you could tell that the ground controller was very busy trying to get airplanes moved and positioned into where they needed to go as expeditiously as possible, but you could tell that it was definitely a constrained event. So after that, we went to dinner at Red Robin with the airplane geeks, and it was great. It was a great dinner. I think it's the longest I've ever spent in a Red Robin, but it definitely did not feel like the 3.5, 4 hours that we were there. It was great hanging out with a bunch of like-minded aviation nerds, and we just clicked. You just connected. It's what I always find about aviation people, that no matter where you are or all that, if you have that common ground, it's generally the same type of people that you get to know. And I kind of try to make my way to either end of the table that we were at to make sure I got to meet and talk to pretty much almost everyone that was there.
Yeah, that was a great time hanging out with everybody at the, well, not everybody, but most of the people that we saw at Udvar-Hazy were over at Red Robin for the Geeks meetup.
Yep. And then me and you just retired back to the Casa de Fernandez, hung out with my father-in-law some more, drank some more beer, and got to bed relatively early for our early flight home. And I was doing while you guys were talking and everything like that, I was doing the flight planning on the way home, and I was thinking that maybe we could stop in Charlotte area and meet up with Dr. Steph. And somehow I got it in my brain that Greenville Spartanburg was further north than Charlotte than it was. And I don't know what I was thinking, but we probably could have stopped with Dr. Steph and met up. But, I think it was for the better that we didn't, because I needed to get back Sunday and go to work that evening. And so our quick stop at Greenville downtown airport, it was quick. It was a pretty quick stop, and it was such a quick stop. The same ATIS was being broadcast for our arrival and our departure, which was a quick, get fuel, get food, and get out of there. It was pretty much the whole premise of the stop.
Yep, quick turn.
Now, something funny happened, and I didn't pull the recording because I'd have to edit it and bleep it out too much. But when I was eating my lunch, a certain pilot was flying, and you were flying the airplane, and you were taking the radios, and every time it was our turn for a radio transmission, someone kept on saying Acme instead. And when you did it again, it was just very funny to me, because you've got 30 years ingrained of saying the company call sign, and now you have to change it, and it's very hard.
I warned you that I would do that, and so when I wasn't thinking about it, the first thing that would come out of my mouth is the name of the real airline that I fly for, our call sign, and then about half after that comes out of my mouth, I go, November 2324 Lima. In fact, one of the guys that we were talking with, I think it was it Greenville?
It was Atlanta Center.
Atlanta Center.
Yeah.
And the guy said, I think I know who you fly for. And so we had a nice conversation. I guess that gentleman used to live down on the south side and used to work for our company. And so we had a nice little conversation.
Yeah, it was good there. And then just south, after we finally got up to a cruising altitude and a somewhat bearable temperature, we hit there was started to be a scattered layer. And looking forward at the METARs, that scattered layer was going to turn into a broken layer and all of that. And so I said that we kind of need to go down. And you're like, really? We could just kind of pick through this. And it just shows that just the difference of the two types of flying that we do. For me, I didn't want to get trapped above it, being in a VFR airplane, because, well, I can't descend through a layer. in the airplane that I have because it's not certified for IFR. And for you in an airliner, that would be kind of normal. And another consideration that I had was the Atlanta class Bravo airspace that we needed to go ahead and stay below. And for you, flying into Atlanta all the time,
Never think about it.
You don't think about that at all.
No. Completely different mindset when you're flying using visual flight rules as opposed to the basically 100% of the time flying airliners. You're on an IFR flight plan. And so you never think about getting stuck above a layer and class B, rules and all that kind of stuff.
No, so
I don't.
It was good.
You do, but I don't.
I honestly, I think the whole and the best part I had was the trip to and from with you, because I honestly think that we learned stuff from each other, and we worked well as a crew, as you could almost call it. You gave considerations, and when we were flying back home southbound, we were about 15 miles closer to the mountains, and our direct route of flight would have taken us directly about 1,000 to 1,500 feet directly over some mountains. And you suggested, hey, why don't we stay a little bit away from the mountains? And I'm like,
they were looking really big. Now, when I'm up at 30-something thousand feet looking at these things, sometimes it's hard to tell you're even flying over mountains. And down at, we're on the way back, 4,500 feet, that's up close and personal. And I was looking at some peaks in the distance. I'm thinking, are we going to, what, I think I asked you, what are the elevation of those things? And then you kind of looked at on your ForeFlight app to see, and I said, yeah, that seems to me like we're going to be awfully close if we actually fly over the top of them. I said, why don't we move over to the left a little bit? Again, just not my comfort zone because I'm just not used to that, but it's beautiful. I mean, you see so much when you're flying much slower and much lower to the ground. And I really got a kick out of it. It did not feel like hours of flying to me. It really didn't. It was just enjoyable, just seeing the countryside and all the houses and trees and that kind of stuff. Sunbathing, women. No, I was kidding. I didn't see any of that.
It was really amazing.
But I didn't see any.
It was really amazing flying. It's what I love about the flight going up from Atlanta up to the DC area. You don't cross the mountains at all, but you parallel the Appalachians pretty much from South Carolina all the way up through Virginia and all of that. You parallel them, you see them, you get to witness that natural beauty from afar without having to really deal with the hazards of it. So, Jeff, do you have a best part of the weekend?
I agree with you. I think that the best part of it, even though it was awesome seeing people like Jen and Rick Bell and Micah and Brian and all the, the Airplane Geeks gang and people like people I'd never met before, like Chuck, and I got to see Tony Fletcher, the guy that took the beautiful photos of the Mad Dog taking off out of DCA, and so many more. I can't remember all the folks that I got a chance to meet up with either for the first time or meet and talk again. But as much fun as all of that was and the great time over at your in-laws, I think I'd have to agree with you. The best part of the weekend was actually flying up and flying back.
Yeah.
So I do thank you for the invitation to occupy one of the control seats in the airplane. That was a lot of fun.
Well, the good news is there's half of the seats in the airplane are control seats, and be kind of weird if I put you in the back seat.
Yeah, that would be a little odd. Yeah, not a lot of leg room either on those seats.
Well, once you push the seats forward, there's a pretty decent amount of leg room.
Okay. I was going to mention something about one of the weird things for me is that when I go out there and do my job, wearing my uniform and I have my ID card and I can pretty much go anywhere I want within reason, and nobody ever questions it. And when you go to these FBOs, not at the small airports, but the FBOs at these large airports like Dulles International, and I think this also happened to me in Pittsburgh at the whatever the FBO was that we were using to park. The the security measures that they have in effect now, they basically lock the door so you can't just walk right out of the FBO out onto the flight line without some kind of a security measure. And this lady said something like, do you have a badge? And I'm thinking, I don't need no stinking badges. And then so she looked over at Mike, and he goes, I don't have a badge either. It was like, we can't go outside because I think I left my phone on
the shuttle bus,
little shuttle bus. Yeah, the shuttle bus that took us from Mike's airplane to the door of the FBO, which was about 75 feet, I think.
Yeah.
Not sure why we took a bus or a van. But anyway, so I was trying to get back out there to get to the van to look for my phone, and they wouldn't let me out there. I'm thinking, what? I'm an airline pilot. I can go out there. It's okay. But I guess there's security for a reason. But that was just kind of one of those odd feelings that I had. I'm thinking, hey, I'm not just a regular passenger waiting to fly away on one of these fancy biz jets. I'm a pilot. I can go out here, can't I?
Yeah, it was funny. They almost didn't want us to go out to the airplane on Sunday at all. They're like, we need to see your badges. I'm like, really? I'll get you a badge, but it's going to say Acme on it, and you're going to laugh at me. And thankfully, the guy that had control of the door just goes, come on. He goes to them like, look, they're pilots. They're general aviation pilots. They don't have badges. We know where they're going. They're going to their airplane.
Yeah.
Thankfully, he had a little bit of common sense.
The other, at the Pittsburgh FBO back last year at Wings Over Pittsburgh, I was, I think somebody was taxiing in. I think it was Steve and Ivy. And I was there with Hillel, and we were inside the FBO. And I took out my camera to take a picture of Steve and Ivy taxiing in. And somebody comes up to me and tells me to put my phone away and not take pictures. Thinking, really? I can't take a picture? Wow.
Yeah, it's funny. It's that whole enhanced security and making airplanes safer or airports safer.
Because I guess there's a good reason for it.
Yeah. So I think that's going to wrap up this episode of the Flying Life podcast. You can find show notes for this episode at flyinglife.com/2018/37. And you can find me on Twitter at Flying in Life, Facebook.com/Flying in Life. Jeff, do you want to talk about this little podcast thing that you do, and where can people find you, just in case no one's ever heard of the Airline Pilot Guy show?
Yeah, I'm on Podbean, and you can head over to, let's see, the URL is podbean.com/543x kilo 5 / no, I'm just kidding. I do a show called Airline Pilot Guy. And you can head over to airlinepilotguy.com. That's our website. There's a way that you can send us feedback or just send feedback to feedback@airlinepilotguy.com.
And you're on Twitter as Airline Pilot Guy as well?
Yep, Airline Pilot Guy on Twitter, and the same thing on Facebook, and all the places out there, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, all that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So that's going to wrap it up. The opening and closing music is from bensound.com. Bumper music's from purpleplanet.com. And until next time, which should be relatively soon. I should have this out in a couple of days. And then tomorrow, I'm recording an interview with the EAA, starting to talk about Oshkosh. So really excited for that. And that should be out the end of the month. So until next time, see you later, everybody.
Bye-bye. They can't see me. But if I start talking, they can see me, I bet. No? I don't know.
All righty. Enough of that. Thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you. That was fun. We kind of did the same thing, maybe a little shorter version in the airplane, but the recording didn't turn out so great.
No, I think I learned that you can't have your recording device plugged into the airplane that you're using to record the audio from the headsets.
Little interference.
Yeah. So, all right. Thank you, sir. I'm going to hit the stop broadcast button and make sure that my wife and kids are still alive.
Okay.
All
It was
right.
fun. Thanks for inviting me. It was a lot of fun.
No problem. Bye, everybody that's left in the chat room.
Bye-bye.
All right. See y'all. See you, Jeff.